kick my ass.
Okay, that should be live now. Hello everyone, and welcome to Monster Paws Gaming. I'm Misfit, bringing you another episode of Sidewinder Sunday here in Elite Dangerous. Right now we're in the Merope system in the Pleiades. Hopefully we're going to be hunting ourselves some thargoids tonight. Now, I was getting ready to do a little bit of prep work just before the stream started up here, and unfortunately, it turns out this station doesn't actually have a shipyard in it, so I can't transfer the new ship that I want to use today. But, fortunately, another ship in this station, well, system anyway, does have a shipyard. And we're headed there now. It's a planetary base called Alcazar's Hope. You can see it right there in the bottom left. Get a good look at the galaxy out in front of us. But yes, since it will likely take a little while to transfer the ship to the new station, the first half hour of the stream is mostly just going to be a little bit of messing around and looking at some of the sites here in the Merope system. Then we can go pick up the new ship and outfit it with some weapons to actually take on some thargoids. In the big news in like the last 2 weeks in Elite Dangerous, considering last week I wasn't able to stream another episode of this, all in all, not too much has happened. There's been a few community goals here. One involving bounty hunting around Jacques Station in the Colonia Nebula. And other than that, there's been a few other goals here and there, just some standard stuff. All the Aegis Initiative stuff is all finished up. All the anti-xenotech is available at military and industrial, and in some cases, high technology planetary outposts. As opposed to like standard space stations. I'm just going to take a look at the system map here real quick. It's been a while since I've been in the Pleiades area, so might as well see what there is here. I can't remember if it was the Maya system or this one, but by the looks of it, it's probably the Maya system. So we'll probably head out there after we get set to retrieve our ship. because due to one of my earlier projects with this being somewhat scrapped due to a lot of the footage not recording right, I didn't actually get to show off one of the things I wanted to in one of my first streams, that being, of course, a black hole. Fortunately, I do know where there is one, and that would be in the Maya system, which is a pretty short hop away. Only just over 4 light years. And since as far away as we are from the regular bubble of inhabited space, it will probably be a little bit for the ship to transfer there, usually about 36 minutes. Right now, as far as I know, one of the most common things among a lot of players of Elites, or anyone who's been following the recent events, especially with the events at the Frontier Expo that was a couple weeks back, about the information on the new ships and the Beyond series of updates, which one of them is supposedly coming before the end of the year, so we're waiting to see what's going to happen with that. Possibly one of the new ships, if not that, at the very least. They talked about reworking some of the planetary generation things to where it helps populate them with more interesting features and gets rid of a lot of the dull gray and brown planets that are out there in deep space. And with any luck, one of the things that they covered overhauling was a lot of the exploration stuff, adding more interesting things in space to see, which that'll be kind of fun. But in a way, what I would like to see is, even though I always have been and will be a huge fan of anything Empire related in this game, I can't wait to see if they do anything with the Alliance. Perhaps either making the Chieftain or some other ship hidden behind the frankly awful ranking system, which hopefully is going to get revised at some point in time. Because if they do add the ranking, it would be kind of unfair if the Alliance didn't really get any of its own ships. And it's a bit annoying that they kind of don't. So we're coming up on this planetary system here. One thing I would also be interested in seeing is what the pricing on some of these ships is going to be. Personally, I think the Crate is probably going to be one of the cheaper ships, and that's another sort of announced. I say sort of because, like a lot of ships, the Crate has been around for quite arguably a very long time, like the early beginnings of Elite, but is only now finally getting introduced into Elite Dangerous. But at the time in those games, it was described as being outdated and outgunned relatively easily, but being sort of a good entry-level ship. Considering the makeover they've given it, and given the lines that they've made it look a lot more interesting, it's probably going to be something a little bit mid-range, definitely combat-oriented by the look of it still. But it probably won't end up costing more than, probably won't cost any more than a Vulture, if I had to guess. The Type 10 Defender will probably be pretty expensive considering it's supposed to be the step up from the Type 9. So probably near the Anaconda price range, like 140 mil, maybe between that and the Type 9's price. The Chieftain, however, I'm not too sure on. But more than likely, the Chieftain and the Crate, if they were to do anything with the Alliance, those would probably be the two ships that were introduced there. Now we'll just proceed to come down on this outpost like a brick. Alright, now that we've got ourselves a nice spot to land, we'll just get down here and get the ship. And for a graceful touchdown. Yay. Okay.
Landing complete. Docking restraints engaged.
Now, one thing I do plan on doing in the coming months is adding to, well, more of this streaming that I do on the channel here, is, I'm going to be continuing Sidewinder Sunday, of course. It's so far one of my favorite things to do, is just play this game, even if I'm doing basically nothing in it. As long as I've still got something interesting, or at least entertaining for everyone here to watch, I'll keep doing this one. But eventually, once I can get it again, I'm planning on adding No Man's Sky to the channel, which, thanks to a lot of the more recent updates, has been somewhat redeemed in a lot of people's eyes. Myself, I've never really had much a problem with the game. It just wasn't quite what was advertised, but nonetheless, it was still at least kind of fun. My only problem with it right now is because of how much the update fixed, it's actually gone up in price. And it looks like that ship is well over an hour away, so we may have to come up with some other plans for the first half of our stream here. So let's see if we got anything fun here that we can play around with for a little bit. Well, it looks like that's pretty much a no. But I was kind of expecting that. So we've still got the ship en route. So let's take a look at the outfitting screen. And get eyes on what's available for the anti-xenotech at this store. Now, naturally, of course, the ship is outfitted with no weapons, because it was mostly an explorer-type build. But let's see. Yep. Looks like we got a few of the things I need. The anti-xeno multi-cannons, flak launchers, and missile racks. Perfect. So I will be able to outfit the ship once it arrives. Unfortunately, you got kind of a spoiler on what the ship is, and yes, it is the Imperial Clipper. I finally managed to get enough done to where I could rank up in the system just a little bit. But I would like to leave that one up to chat here to determine what the name of that ship is when it gets here. And we'll just roll with that ship from now on. Unless, of course, no names come up. I'll probably be going with a name my brother, Havoc, suggested, because we're going to be eradicating the Xeno scum, and he is a huge fan of Warhammer. We'll probably call it the Exterminatus, which is a bit of a misnomer, but close enough. And it looks like we at least have the scanner here. But we don't have any of the EMP protection, so that might cause a little bit of a problem, at least at first. Might as well look at missions, see if there's anything going on nearby. Since we have some time to kill, clearly. Well, looks like there's a couple things that we could do. So we'll just grab those. They're all in the Maya system, fortunately, which is where we're going to be heading.
And yes, Yuvi is here. She's just silent today.
Everybody say hello, UV. Though, of course, by the time many of you see it, this will have already been concluded and up on the channel for a while. Book.
You get to hear the creaking of a bed. This piece of shit. And no, don't pardon my language on that one, because
I wouldn't.
I'm not gonna ask be pardoned on that, because that's what this bed is. I think it made mine and his back worse, not better.
Pretty much.
Ship restraints
Good. It looks like these two missions are at separate points, which is kind of a good thing. So let's just get the nav beacon here, so we can save ourselves a little bit of trouble. Alright, we can drop out in front of the beacon.
What's up?
Well, not much. Just looking up some stuff. Got the data here.
Nobody joined the chat yet?
Nope.
Not even shy?
Nobody.
Oops. Sorry about that. I'm a butt. Everybody gets to hear you say I'm a butt.
And there it is. Not UV's butt.
Yes, not my butt.
Okay, so we've got the black hole targeted, and we're gonna fly right at it. Smart. So this one's gonna take us quite a while to get out to. Fortunately, the time figure you see down there is a complete exaggeration, but it'll still take us a good 10 or so minutes to get there, so we might as well check out the Galnet, which is basically the in-game news and lore service of what's going on in the background. As you can see here, I've pledged my allegiance to Empress Arissa Lavani Duval, and here we go. Let's see if there's anything particularly interesting. Ah, yes, that's one other in-game thing that's happened recently, is the quote-unquote Cold War seems to have ended between the Empire and the Federation, considering that they have mostly withdrawn from here, the Pleiades. So, no one's protecting any particular sites like they were early on when the thargoids first started appearing. And, yeah, so a lot of the hostilities basically come to an end and nobody's really causing any problems anymore. Probably because all the barnacles are worn out, so there's no resources to get. Then we've got this one here, the community goal that's going on right now at LHS 2094, where basically there was a lot of bounty hunting going on and, well, trade goods being delivered. I kind of wanted to get into that, but didn't really have enough to outfit a good trading ship, so I didn't bother with that one. And by the looks of it, we've got ourselves a comment. Hello, Kashai, or Elric, or Redead. Hello. Okay, so that's about the big news there. And we've still got a long way to go. Huzzah. So, let's play around with the camera a little bit, or do something else that's going to take up some time. So now that we're far enough away from the parent star of the system, we can actually get a pretty good look at space all around us. You can see a couple of nebula off in the distance. There's a bit of what I believe is supposed to be the Witch Head Nebula, which I actually went on a very short exploration trip to today. Pretty colors everywhere. And there's the galactic plane over there, where you can see all the flights currently going into and exiting the galaxy. Actually, it's just the galaxy itself. The brighter spot there in the center is towards the core, where obviously a lot of stars are. And it's mostly obscured by dust this far out. And we can see me, just hanging out here in the cockpit. If I was flying an Imperial ship, I would be saying basking, but that is currently not what I'm doing. Yep, it is one of the many nebula in the game that is actually based on a real physical one that has been observed. Whereas a lot of other ones are procedurally generated. Oh, I didn't know it was her birthday. If you're watching this at any point in time, or if you're watching right now, happy birthday, Aster!
Happy birthday, Aster!
Ah, speaking of my brother earlier, there's Havoc right there in chat. Hello. And yeah, that is the plan. As soon as my ship transfers to the Merope system, where I can outfit it with some anti-Xeno technology. And like I mentioned earlier in the stream, I am going to leave the name of the ship up to you guys here in chat. For anyone who shows up, I can suggest some names. Otherwise, I'll probably just call it the Exterminatus. Look how far I still have yet to go. And there's the other pilot seat in here. Mine is actually on the upper deck there. But this ship is capable of being multi-crewed, though there wouldn't be too much point in that right now. The Deadless is another possibility. And yeah, actually, Havoc is a pretty big fan of the Warhammer franchise. Of a large distance to cover, let's take a look at the galaxy itself. Ooh. So here we are in the Maya system, which I'll get us a little bit better of a view here. This one designates out the star classes, which I use this a lot if I'm going to be traveling any long distance, because I can set it to where I only jump through scoopable stars, so I can make sure I don't run out of fuel, or any of the more expensive interesting stars, like in non-sequence where it covers a few interesting objects like black holes and neutron stars. Those I always want to find. Not only because of the massive value of exploration data on them, but especially in the case of the neutron stars, they're handy because you can increase your jump range by flying through them. Yep. So, here's the Maya system where we are right now. In the Pleiades Nebula. So we'll just pull back a little bit, and you start to see this huge bubble of stuff. So let's do a little bit of magic here. Let's find Earth. Which is probably actually a bad idea. Considering it didn't actually take us to Earth, I should have put in Sol. But there's this one place here, titled for the Earth Expeditionary Fleet. 22,000 light years away. Might actually head out there sometime. It's out in the El Pru sector, near Colonia space. Which is right out here in this lovely purple nebula. And this is where we find Jack Station. And you can see how many stars there are in this area. Now here's going to be where we're relative to the to Earth itself, or at least our home system. About 383 light years away. In kind of a pretty decent sector of space. Now, unfortunately, I can't actually go there because you need high ranking with the Federal Navy, which is too much of a pain for me to even bother with. But I can at least go to the home system of the Imperials, Akanar. But, not too much to see there, in my opinion, anyway. The Centennial Albatross. There's an interesting name for the ship. Okay, so we go a little bit further out in the view and we get this other nebula over here, Barnard's Loop, which is out near, well, not exactly near, but in the same sort of sector as the Horsehead, Orion, and the Witchhead Nebula, the place I mentioned I was at earlier today. And here's the star that we went to on the first episode of Sidewinder Sunday, VY Canis Majoris. One of the further trips I took on stream to Anywhere, which took a little bit too long, to be honest, but then again, I was mostly just screwing around, trying to land an SRV on my own ship. Now, one thing I would like to do is, because as you can see with a lot of the bookmarks where I've been, or at least where I want to go, this line of bookmarks pretty much denotes the old system where you could only plot routes 1,000 light years at a time, but now you can do 20,000 at a time. And this is about where I died. But I, of course, one day want to get all the way out here to Beagle Point, which is considered the furthest reachable place in the Milky Way from Earth, or at least at the time, because this was before the engineers, when max jump distance was around 30 light years, even with a properly kitted out ship. But I would actually like to go a little bit further this way. This is one of my goals here, the Airdorn area. A lot of these stars are so sparsely populated that at my current jump range of 43 light years, I cannot actually plot a successful route all the way out there. But as you can see, while they may not be as dense as a lot of things, there are still plenty of stars out here. So at some point I'd like to see just how far I can go before I hit like the actual edge of the galaxy on this side, which you can see it's pretty much empty over here. And that's a good 20,000 light years from Earth as well. So we'll just pop out of here again. And we're actually starting to make some time on our object here. Now it says 2 minutes, but that's more like 4 or 5 minutes to be perfectly honest. It looks like we got an update here. Oh, they want me to kill some random people. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Not because I have a sense of morality in this game at all. Fuck no. Simply because, one, it doesn't pay very well. They're only going to give me 20,000 to commit what will actually end up being a crime and putting a bounty on my head for no particular reason, when I could just complete my mission and get easily 100 times that amount just by completing it normally. So I'm going to give this thing a little gas to speed our way along a bit. Because the closer we can get to this, the sooner we can see some of the more interesting things about how Frontier has decided to render black holes in the game, which arguably could be pretty accurate to real life. Because there's the whole thing about how the gravitational field is so powerful that light can't escape once it gets in there, but it also distorts light around it. because, unlike a lot of people figure, space is three-dimensional, of course. So that effect is going in every direction simultaneously, so naturally it's going to have an interesting effect. You may not even see the black hole itself at any point, just the distorted space around it. And as you can see, the distortions are getting a little bit more interesting as we get a little closer. While it would be cool to see a little bit of the more traditional depiction of black holes in this game with the massive accretion disks and whatnots, like you've seen in just about any other sci-fi type game or show before. This is still kind of a neat touch. In the trailer that I posted for this series, I actually showed another black hole in the Lemuel sector, which was a bookmark out near the galactic core you might have seen on my map. Yep. And as Kashaya mentions in chat, like how I was mentioning the star VY Canis Majoris earlier, you got a little description here for you. VY Canis Majoris is a red giant, technically a red supergiant, with the temperature of over 2,706 degrees Celsius and a mass of 20 Earths, with an age over 1.85 times 10 to the 6th million years old. So yeah, it's pretty fucking huge, big, and old. Now, the mass of it is a bit of a misnomer in a lot of ways, considering that hydrogen 1 is the least heavy element in the entire universe, and hydrogen being a huge component of any kind of star, but also due to the fact that stellar theory and stuff says that because of VY Canis Majoris' size as a supergiant, the density of the materials is not much heavier than, like, heavy cloud cover. So as big as the star is, it's not quite as terrifying as a lot of people might think. And you can see up here the distortion from the black hole as we get closer to it. So I'm going to dial the speed back a little bit as we get a little closer. It could mean 20 suns, yeah. But another thing, when I mentioned VY Canis Majoris in my first stream, I did say it was believed to be the biggest, or it was currently the biggest observable sun in the entire universe. There's actually another that has been discovered quite recently, over like the last 5 years, that is much more massive in terms of both size, magnitude, and, well, yeah, basically just that. That sort of puts VY Canis Majoris to shame. But that being said, VY is still a fucking huge star. And it is one of the few stars in the galaxy that is classified as a hypergiant, which is obviously a giant type star that's too big to be called just a supergiant. Now we are only, well, around 500 kilometers away from this black hole, which in reality we'd be pretty fucked right now. So let's see how close we can get. There we go. 25 kilometers, and we drop out of the exclusion zone. You can see these wonderful distortions going on with our field here. And this here would be it. Or at least what we can observe of it. Let's try and get a little closer. Interesting. Apparently, this is one of the things in the game that has some invisible walls around it. Yep, body exclusion zone hit. So, we cannot get any closer to this, which is kind of unfortunate. But, I do have a camera. Which we can do some minor tricks with here. But unlike one of the older camera types in here, the classified camera that used to be here before this camera suite, is that after a few meters out, this camera ceases to function, whereas the old one, you could actually fly straight through the black hole itself and see the interesting distortions, even through the invisible walls. Yep, we seem to be right there, 3 kilometers away, which is the furthest we can get out from our ship. Kind of a shame, but there it is. Yeah, probably is a good idea not to get too close to it. Or at least it would be in reality. Kind of boring, though, in practice. Oh well. At least unlike other stars and stuff in the game, where if you get too close to them, you start taking damage. Black holes, nothing happens. Now, the heat damage you're starting to see as well because, yeah, I'm overheating from letting my drive charge up and not being able to just jump straight away. But didn't take too much damage. Ooh! And someone wants to try and kill us. I unfortunately will not be able to indulge them as I have no weapons. So I don't plan on giving up. There we go. Okay, now that we're out here, we can get on to these missions that I picked up earlier. Basically just some surface scans on a couple different planets here that's going to get us a couple million credits to play with. So I'm headed towards this planet here where we're going to do some shit on the surface here. Speaking of space and nerding all over chat, as Kashaya just said, there's this one interesting thing that happened recently. There was, well, basically an unknown object likely an asteroid, meteoroid, possibly a comet that has recently crossed into our solar system. Let me see if I can pull up some information on that, because it's actually kind of cool. There we go. So basically, we don't know entirely what it was, but it came from what we believe to be possibly from the Vega system, or at least in the vicinity of it, because of the trajectory of how the comet was moving through our solar system. It was an inclination of around 122 degrees. And this one is called A/2017U1. And that's something worth looking up for anyone who's interested in this kind of thing. And basically, it's a rogue comet, meteor, or asteroid that got knocked out of its orbit around its parent star from deep space and flown through our solar system at a decent distance, but moving relatively fast, as you'd imagine it would do. Now, Vega itself is a star system that is very near to our own. And in fact, I can probably pull it up on our galaxy map here, just to give you a little bit of perspective. But it's roughly 25 light years away from Earth. There we go. Now, right here, of course, it shows it a lot further away, relatively by distance. But, as you can see from a lot of the area around, it's not too far away from a lot of the local area here. But basically, yeah, there's that. Some people might recognize Vega from the movie Contact, which is, of course, based on the book by Carl Sagan, if I remember correctly. And, well, it was both kind of an interesting movie, kind of a bad movie at times, but, I didn't mind it so much. That was a bit of a bad timing for interdiction there. But fortunately it didn't screw me over too much. Also, take a look at the height of some of these mountain peaks here on this planet. A little over the top. So this is what we're looking here we're looking for this search zone, which is, of course, on the other side of this little moon here. So we're just going to wait for our FSD to cool down. But yeah, considering its origins, how fast it was moving, and its quick crossing across the solar system here, it basically, considering the fact it is from outside of our solar system, it was technically called an alien object because, well, it's not from our area, of course. And some people have theorized that it's possibly just something that got knocked out of the Oort cloud or some other dust cloud further outside of the solar system, somewhere around the Kuiper belt, or literally anything else. There's, in my opinion, still the possibility that it is of an origin from outside of the system. And that's not such a big deal, really. Just means that there's other rocks out there. No biggie. But people are quick to judge about it just based on the term alien. It has nothing to do with little green men. Alien just means something that is, well, foreign. Foreign not necessarily being a bad thing, it's just something not known or not from your area. It's whatever. Either way, apparently it was pretty fucking big, so thank God it didn't hit us. Now we just need to get a little closer to these search zones here so we can find what we need to scan and get some of our data for. And of course, as you can see, these things move around. Prior to an update a little while ago, you could actually stack a bunch of these missions and all get a bunch of them going to the same exact planet, looking for the same exact object, and make a hell of a lot of money. But naturally, that got kind of nerfed, because a little bit too easy. And there we go. That's what we need to go to. Now, while we could do this in our ship, it'll be a little more fun to do in the SRV. Oh, that's interesting. There's a Cobra landed over here. So we'll just pop into our SRV here. So we just got to scan this data here. naturally they didn't like any of that. So, time for me to get out of here.
Warning.
So that didn't go exactly well. Considering as damaged as we are, I'm probably gonna just head back to Merope and get my ship repaired before I screw around out here anymore. Fortunately, we killed a bunch of time already, so maybe our ship will be pretty close to waiting for us. So we'll just spool up the friendship drive here. There we go. Now we just got to get out to this station here. Yep, that's actually true because of the dust particles in the atmosphere and the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere as well, bending the light in a different way than Earth's atmosphere does. Instead of how we have 10 sort of orangish to red sunsets, Mars would actually have more of a bluish. Which means purple landscape as far as the eye can see. We might end up overshooting this one a bit. Now let's see if I can black out here. Swoop. Kind of a yes. Because apparently if you stay in that redded out or blacked out state too long, it doesn't take any of your control inputs.
Welcome, Commander. Please restrict your speed when approaching the service boat. Access granted. Set down on landing pad 090.
And interestingly enough, we get to lift off from the same place we touched down, on landing pad 9.
Touchdown confirmed. Commence system shutdown.
Looks like we got about 12 minutes till the ship gets here. Alright, so I'm going to have to take a quick break here, but I will be back in about 5 or 10 minutes, and we'll continue on with the stream. And we'll probably be going till about 9:30 to 10 tonight, kind of to make up for the fact that it took so long for me to... Well, it's still taking a while for me to get the ship that I actually wanted to fly in this stream out here. And, partially because of the fact that last week I wasn't able to do a stream due to some minor technical issues. But I'll leave it with a view of this spot right out here, and I will return shortly. Hello everyone, I have returned. Shazam. Okay. So that's all that taken care of, and we can get back to the game here. And it looks like 2 whole minutes remaining. So we'll just kill a couple more minutes here.
Low gravity warning.
We'll just roll around here a little bit. And somehow we're not dead yet. I'm actually kind of surprised by this. Woo! And pop. There we go. Excellent. Now we're back on our ship, and hopefully that managed to kill about 2 minutes. At least I'm really, really hoping so, because there's one thing I don't really like is how long it takes to transfer some ships. Even for as big of a distance it is. I wish it wouldn't have taken quite as long as it did. So we'll just turn in that mission. And here it is. And as been mentioned here in chat, we've also got Don here, one of our Patreon supporters. Hello there. And for a little update there, one thing is we were doing a thing where we could have anyone in chat name the ship. So if you want to put in a vote for it, just drop it in there. I'll get you a good view of the ship here, since we gotta outfit it anyway for some of the hunt. As you can see, I had this ship previously kitted out for some mining, because it turns out this one's pretty decent at that. But literally anything can be. So we'll just get rid of these cheap lasers here and replace them with some stuff to kill off those thargoid enemies that we're going to be fighting. So we'll get some of these experimental weapons. Now, these ones we will get turreted on them, that way we can do some better tracking on the thargoids that we're going to run into, because this ship unfortunately has kind of wide weapons placement, and these aren't tracking missiles. So we got those fitted. And there we've got a scanner, so we can actually get a look at those ships. Might as well get one of these. And let's see about upgrading these internal systems a little bit. Maybe there's some stuff here we can use. And by the look of it, nope. So we'll just swap out our limpet controllers here, because we won't get much use out of them, for some armor reinforcement. Let's put one last bit of reinforcement in here. Okay. So we got those, we got our weapons. Now we can go into here and do some minor outfitting to this ship. Now that texture just really needs to render in, because that looks awful right now. Now this ship does have quite a few options for paint jobs, but unfortunately we don't have any of those at the moment for this particular one. Now this one here for Kashai. And for one last touch. Might have to fix the placement of that one. That's a much better spot. Alright. Looks like this ship's all set. So, any ideas for the name? We could do Prometheus. Alright, so we've got this one done. Let's go find us some Xenos.
Ship restraints withdrawn. Clear for ascent.
Now that we're out and about, we've just got to try and find us some non-human signal sources, and that's where you can get the thargoids to spawn. Now it's just a matter of flying around until we're given a bit of random luck and one of those signal sources pops up. Which can be, like a lot of things in this game, kind of time-consuming. Ah, that's a convoy dispersal pattern, so probably not that one. Ah, here's another one. Let's see what it is. Degraded emissions. Well, let's try heading out to Maya, see if we see anything out there. Considering this system is pretty well populated and kind of a hub of almost all activity in the Pleiades area, it probably wouldn't make sense that they'd be spawning in this area. So we'll try out Maya and keep looking around here and there. Now, an interesting thing about Merope is it was the site of one of the first ever barnacles that was discovered. Those are like thargoid structures that are found on planets where there's been activity. It would be Merope 5C was the first one ever discovered. Now, this is the place where we found that black hole, obviously. But we'll see if any signals pop up that we can use. Apologies for not a lot of talking going on right now. There's sort of one of those cases where not really much to say until something actually happens. What do we have here? Degraded emissions. Combat aftermath. What the hell? Might as well check this one out. If nothing else, we might at least see something kind of interesting. Oh, just a lot of fragments of ships. A few decent materials, though. Though at the moment I'm kind of overstocked on a lot of these. Looks like we got a fragment of a eagle right here. Boop. And what else? See if there's any other shapes we could recognize. Another piece of an eagle. Not too much there, unfortunately. If I was in need of more chemical processors, they could be useful, but right now I need chemical distilleries for some hyperdrive upgrades. But at least that breaks it up a little bit. So let's see if we can get some more sources pop up. Now basically, as you might notice in the top right, we're waiting for that info tab to say a new signal source instead of new contact. And then we start looking around to see what it was. Or try and find it again, just in case we fly past it. And so far we're getting nothing around here, so we're probably going to check in another system soon.
30 minutes till.
Okay. Since we're coming up on the last bit of our stream here, might as well take the time to mention our Patreon contributors. Right now there's Don Wright, who is one of our Patreon supporters. If you're interested in helping out Monster Paws at all, please leave a like, comment, share this video, but especially subscribe. And if you're feeling especially generous, you can always check out the Patreon for Monster Paws. All profits go back into making this channel better, delivering more interesting games, different content, and better hardware, so we can just keep doing what we're doing, but do a better job of it. And we have the information on that on our channel banner. And in a short while, I'll probably put links in the description of a lot of our stream videos. So just check for that in the near future. We'll try this one out, see if we get anything here. Signal source, but what is it? Encoded emissions. And we've got another source here, but let's check out and see what it is. Convoy dispersal. Let's check out another system, because so far this one isn't panning out too well. Okay, so we got our next spot locked, and we're just gonna fly around for a few minutes and hope something appears. Alright, here we go, round 5. Time to see if we'll get anywhere with this system. So far, still coming up empty. Well, this whole area is under the control of Aegis, so possibly we'll find something here. At least that's what I'm hoping. But, I don't know. Unfortunately, it's not looking so good right now. So we'll see if any of those signal sources pop up on our way out to this station here. If not, we'll probably be ending the stream at that station. Another signal source. Hopefully this will be the one. Degraded emissions. What the hell. At this point, might as well check it out. Might as well scoop this. Looks like that was all that was out here. Another degraded emissions. Let's check this one out. Another signal source. Alright, well, sadly it looks like we didn't get any of those signal sources that we needed to find. Hopefully next time we'll be able to find some. If not, and I find some just on my regular play outside of a stream, I'll upload a video clip of it straight to YouTube. That way, you'll at least be able to see it. Well, a lot of people have already seen it anyway, but you'll be able to see my encounter with it. So for the moment, we're just gonna dock with this station to effectively save our place. And it's probably a good bet that I'll be around this side of space for quite a while. Just trying to find some thargoids or just, in general, any of the more recent content. Because I haven't spent much time in the Pleiades area. Mostly, I'm around Kamadhenu, Akanar, or in general Imperial space, with the exception of some community goals. Okay, now that we're docked safely inside of the station, I think this would be just as good a time to end the stream as any. I want to thank everyone here for watching, and any of you who's watching this channel and this video in particular in the future outside of the live stream. I'm Misfit from the past, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Sidewinder Sunday. Until then, this has been Misfit with Monster Paws Gaming, and we'll see you all next time.